I'll just see if I can line this up a little bit better. There we go. Welcome to the reading for Christmas Eve 2024. So, whenever you're watching this, this is the reading for Christmas Eve. Is it relevant to Christmas Eve? No. Well, the answer is yes and no. Not overtly, but obviously in the sense that everything is connected. Yes, it is. I'm going to get on with it, but I'm going to start with the quick reminder. 7 o'clock tonight, in person, on Facebook, will be Creative Life Spiritual Center's Christmas Eve service. We will not have a service tomorrow. We'll have one this evening. There'll be 4 short talks. And there'll be plenty of music. And hopefully we can stay dry long enough to get down there and get back. But we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, Reverend Lisa will be on at 9:30, 9:15-ish on Christmas Day. I think so. I'll double check that tonight when I get down there. If she's going to be on any differently, well, then I guess we'll post that separately. Here we go. Here's the reading, because I have to get ready to go down there. How about that? It's a good lesson today. Let me just say that. It's a good lesson. Shift, change, grow. The first quote is from Zora Neale Hurston. I think we've actually heard from her before, and she's an American writer, anthropologist, folklorist, and documentary filmmaker. And she portrayed racial struggles in the early 20th century in the American South. And she published research on hoodoo and Caribbean voodoo. The most popular of her 4 novels is, and I'm sure you've heard of this because I have, Their Eyes Were Watching God. Their Eyes Were Watching God. That was Zora Neale Hurston. What does she say? She says, love makes your soul crawl out of its hiding place. Love makes your soul crawl out of its hiding place. And this one is appropriate to the reading, actually, the Ernest Holmes quote from Words That Heal Today. We reach God in others by reaching out from God within the self. We reach God in others by reaching out from the God that is within the self. Spiritual essence of us, if you prefer that. Words That Heal Today, page 25, paragraph 1. And this is from our writer this month, Reverend Kris, who says, I'll just move this so that I'm kind of looking more at the camera. Relationships are hard. Reverend Kris says, there, I said it. We can stop pretending they should be easy. Each of us brings our own history, our own beliefs, moods, thoughts, ideas, distractions, and more into every interaction. Then Reverend Kris goes on to say, I'm generally a kind and patient person when I'm running errands, but sometimes my background stuff affects the present moment. The other day, I went to the post office to drop off some letters. The postal worker told me that it would cost an additional 40 cents per envelope because of the wax seals. Not a huge expense, but it was my second attempt at mailing these letters. I was in a hurry, hadn't slept well, and really didn't want to add extra stamps. I huffed a bit and stomped off. Then I realized I'd been unfair. It's not her fault that wax seals require extra handling. She was just doing her job. I went back, apologized, and thanked her for her help. She visibly relaxed, and then asked me to bring the letters back to her so that she could personally ensure my envelopes were properly sorted. Despite my rudeness, a brief acknowledgement and apology were enough for this woman to go above and beyond for me. Instead of being annoyed or ignoring my apology, she allowed my humanity to touch hers, and we both left that interaction feeling better. Relationships are hard. This one lasted less than a minute, but was just as important as any other. Every moment and every interaction connects us to ourselves, each other, and our shared humanity. Relationships are about being willing to be vulnerable and continue to shift change, and grow. I don't think anybody could argue with that. Well, I'll rephrase that. It seems to me that nobody should argue with that. I know a friend who argues with everything, so maybe he would. I don't know. So the message is pretty clear here. And there's one thing that we can do. And this really is, it's about relationships, but it's also about not just relationships with other people, it's about relationships with ourselves. But it's also about responding instead of reacting. So the first time around, Reverend Kris reacted when the woman said, "Hey, it's 40 cents more per envelope because you got a seal on it." And she reacted. But then she came back and realized that what was called for was a response. What did she do? She went back and apologized. What did Reverend Kris do? Reverend Kris went back and apologized. And the woman, for her part, was also pretty good. The woman accepted the apology, which was pretty cool. And as Reverend Kris says, human interactions are often not simple, right? I remember Reverend Jesse said on occasion, he said, I will give a Sunday talk or a talk. And then somebody afterwards would come up to me and say, "You just said," and they would repeat, "and that's exactly what I wanted to hear." And he would say often, "I never said that." But their interpretation of what I said was that I said that, but I never actually said those words. So we're always looking at life through our own lens, through our own interpretation, and that's okay. And the other lesson from this is, to me, that if you screw up and you blow up on somebody and you have the courage to go back and apologize, that is just as important as having reacted responsibly in the first place. So I think there's a few good lessons here. I remember once when I was driving back on the toll road from downtown Houston back home, and some guy in the left, we were in a van that was run by Texaco. Sometimes I could hitch a ride in the Texaco van because Texaco were part of our joint venture at that time. And there was a guy in the left lane, I think it's 3 or 4 lanes either side. There was a guy in the left lane who was really, really tailgating somebody else. I mean, like, had he been any closer, he would have been in the back of the other car or vehicle. But one of the people in the van, instead of getting annoyed and criticizing the guy, said, "Look at that idiot." I mean, who on earth would actually drive that close to somebody if the other person just touches their brakes? Bang, it's an accident. No, he said, it, it takes a lot of concentration to do that. And everybody started laughing, you know. Now, we weren't involved in the tailgating, obviously, but what it did was it evaporated anybody's criticism of what was going on. And although it was kind of a serious situation, it just made light of it and everybody felt better for it. And I've always remembered that, and that's years ago. So that's pretty cool. Well, I got to get ready to go down there. I got to be there at 6:30 Central Time tonight. There will be, as I said, there'll be 4 short talks, theoretically 5 to 7 minutes each. But remember that 3 out of the 4 of us are ministers, so it could be 8 minutes, but it won't be long. I promise you. The whole 4 talks won't go on more than half an hour, if not, hopefully less than that. So be about a half an hour. But lots of good music and people are just coming down there for community. So if you live in the neighborhood and you've seen this in time, please come down there. If you miss it, well, it's going to be on Facebook. But if you watch it on YouTube, I do believe the music will be missing because of copyright. But Facebook, I don't think there's a problem. You'd probably see it on Facebook. We will see. As I said, Reverend Lisa will be back tomorrow morning doing her duty on Christmas Day, as will I sometime tomorrow. I'm out. My daughter-in-law insisted that we go up there, and she does all the cooking. Fantastic. We're gonna have to cook tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be able to get a space to do my reading from their house, which is about half an hour from here, or if I'll have to wait till tomorrow evening when I come back. But either way, I will do a reading tomorrow sometime. The affirmation, there was one big long one and a shorter one, and I made them three. I embrace the shared humanity in everyone I encounter. I embrace the shared humanity in everyone I encounter. I allow each relationship to deepen my growth and vulnerability. I allow each relationship to deepen my growth and vulnerability. I open myself to being transformed by every encounter I make. I open myself to being transformed by every encounter I make. Hopefully, the sound is working. The connections went a bit funny this afternoon, but hopefully that's on. Otherwise, I'll just have to repeat it when I come back tonight on another device, but hopefully it worked fine. So I'll see you tomorrow and you know all the rest of it. So take care. And if I don't get the chance to broadcast before, everyone have a great Christmas. And the ones of you out there in other time zones where it's already Christmas, wonderful Christmas day. And I'll see everybody my time tomorrow. Namaste.